with the fentanyl. If you look, the guy's knee wasn't even on his neck like that. When he said mama, mama is his girlfriend. They said he screamed for his mama. Mama was his girlfriend.
Kanye West felt the need to repeat right-wing propaganda in response to the very clear murder of George Floyd at the hands of a now former cop, Derek Chauvin, who has been convicted of murdering George Floyd. Now, he made those statements during an interview with Drink Champs. The full interview was later taken down because of all sorts of terrible, grotesque language and anti-Semitism that was included in the interview. But just to make sure we are fully informed on what happened to George Floyd during the trial against Minnesota police officer Derek Chauvin, medical experts testified that even though Floyd had traces of fentanyl in his system, Floyd died from a lack of oxygen caused by the knee on his neck. You know, the knee on the neck that we all watched with our own two eyes. I guess Kanye missed the video, who knows? But let me continue on with that, which a coroner's report affirmed in deeming Floyd's death a homicide. So blaming it on fentanyl is very Candace Owens-esque, which makes a lot of sense because in the context of that interview, he was talking about watching a film that Candace Owens had put out in regard to what happened to George Floyd.
Yeah, so George Floyd had Chauvin's knee on his neck for well over 3 minutes after he had already passed out. So Chauvin didn't care at all that he was in clear jeopardy. But anyway, this is the most obvious thing in the world. Even most white right-wingers admit that. They just go, oh, he's just a bad seed, it's a bad apple, no big deal. They try to minimize it, but I didn't think anyone was defending Chauvin until Kanye did it. I mean, if you're wondering how insane can you be, just watch Kanye and you'll see. So now, that got so bad, the guy doing the interview had to apologize later for that portion of it. I feel like you should apologize for a lot more than that. And your apology afterwards is actually totally uninteresting. And I don't even think that they should necessarily take it down. So I have conflicted feelings about that. People should know how insane this guy is. Maybe they took it down out of embarrassment that the guy doing the interview didn't do the thing he was supposed to, which is challenge him on these absolutely lunatic things he's saying. But instead he was so happy to have Ye in his studio. He's like, okay. So I got no respect for that guy.
Doesn't he know there's only room for one Joe Rogan? Like, come on, get it together. You gotta push back. Now, the statements about George Floyd caught the attention of the lawyer who represents George Floyd's family, and he is considering a possible lawsuit against Kanye West. I don't know if he's actually going to file a lawsuit, but he is threatening a defamation suit, saying, while one cannot defame the dead, the family of George Floyd is considering suit for Kanye's false statements about the manner of his death, claiming Floyd died from fentanyl, not the brutality established criminally and civilly undermines and diminishes the Floyd family's fight. And so, I would be furious if a family member of mine died in that way, and then you have this major celebrity come out and try to rewrite recent history about the, victimization of my family member. So I can understand the fury that his family must be feeling right now. But the other thing I wanted to just quickly bring up, Cenk, is the reason why Kanye. Well, I don't want to completely take the blame off of him. He should take the blame for what he's saying. But the way he got this idea in his head is through watching Candace Owens's film on George Floyd. And Candace Owens was the one who she decided to raise her hand in the middle of the protests that were taking place in the summer of 2020 and say, no, this wasn't a good guy. George Floyd wasn't a good guy. He did fentanyl, he had fentanyl in his system. I haven't watched her film, but he was specifically citing her film while making this argument during the interview.
Yeah, I mean, who the hell would watch your film? It's of course dumpster fire. So I'm not interested in your weirdo propaganda. So, but here's the only thing that's a little funny in this debacle, and we're about to get to the anti-Semitism, which is horrific, okay, is that Candace Owens and now Kanye think that they're leading a Blexit. That's black folks exiting the Democratic Party because they want to what? Wear White Lives Matter t-shirts like those two just did? That's why black folks, oh, the Republicans say black lives don't matter, but that white lives do. Yes, I'm in. And now his second way of appealing to all African Americans is to tell you that Derek Chauvin's innocent in killing George Floyd. Man, I'm really worried about Blexit. I think they might have their finger on the pulse of the black community in America. If you were trying to be more unpopular with black folks in this country, I'm not sure you could find a better way than to say, what Derek Chauvin did is no big deal, and I'm gonna wear a White Lives Matter shirt.
Yeah, just absolutely insane. And the anti-Semitism, as you mentioned, Cenk, continues in this interview, and there was no pushback against what he was saying here. You know, it disgusts me. I don't want to show every instance of him saying something horrendous and anti-Semitic, but this caught my attention, so let's watch.
Jewish people have owned the black voice, whether it's through us wearing a Ralph Lauren shirt, or it's all of us being signed to a record label, or having a Jewish manager, or being signed to a Jewish basketball team, or doing a movie on a Jewish platform like Disney. And we understand it's like, I respect what the Jewish people have done and how they brought their people together. You know, they came into money through the lawyers when after Wall Street, when all of the like the Catholics, they wouldn't divorce people. Right. So the Jewish lawyers came and they were willing to divorce people. That's when they first came into their money. So like, say with me and Jay, with our culture, with the darker Jews. First of all, because you got
it just happens when anybody starts talking deep.
Okay.
Is he talking deep? What's so deep about like literal lunacy? Like what he was saying was lunatic stuff. I mean, let's start with like the first example he gave, Cenk, which is like wearing Ralph Lauren. Why are you wearing Ralph Lauren then? Like, I don't, did someone force you to wear certain things that you didn't want to wear? Like, what? It's insane. Everything he's saying is insane and super dangerous, right? Because while one might try to give him a pass, and I certainly don't, one might give him a pass because he has mental health issues, right? Bipolar disorder, is clearly not taking his meds. Fact of the matter is, we know what happens when someone comes out and says statements like this. You then have this long line of other public figures who sanitize it and normalize it and make it and defend him basically and make it seem like, no, this is totally okay. And it creates this culture of anti-Semitic rhetoric. We know that we've been dealing with hate crimes in this country directed toward all sorts of people, but certainly toward Jewish communities as well. It's just sick. All of it is sick. And the fact that there was no pushback against that insane rant, really, it's demoralizing.
Yeah, so of course everything he said there was completely wrong. And we even left one thing out that I'm gonna tell you guys about in a second. But to Anna's point first, you know, there's tons and tons of business managers that aren't Jewish. So if you signed up with someone who was Jewish and he was helping you, now of course you're saying, oh, look at that, I had a Jewish business manager. Who made you sign with him? And he's probably gotta be thinking, well, that's the last time I tried to help anybody, okay? And then what's a Jewish basketball team? Are there basketball teams that declare their religion? I wasn't aware of that. Oh, he's going to the Phoenix Suns. That's a Buddhist basketball team. Okay, and then he says like Disney's Jewish, as if it's like an obvious fact. First of all, Disney is a company. Companies aren't people. They're not Jewish or Muslim or Christian or anything. Saying, well, Walt Disney, it makes it sound like, oh, well, at least Walt Disney's Jewish. Walt Disney isn't Jewish. He just made it up. He just made it up. He's a crazy man.
even worse, there's anti-Semitism in the history of Disney, like severe anti-Semitism. Like,
yeah. I mean, here's one way we know that he wasn't Jewish. He was anti-Semitic. Okay, actually, Kanye would have probably liked the original Walt Disney. Anyway, upsides and downsides to historical figures, but but there is no world in which Disney is Jewish, okay? And then later he's talking about, oh yeah, the Jewish business secrets. And then the idiot who was interviewing him is like, the one who said he was going deep, man. Was he? Was like, oh yeah, like real estate and stuff. And he's like, yeah. Anna, my dad worked in commercial real estate and so did yours. I didn't know that they were both Jewish. That's news to us. Okay.
Yeah.
And how did your Armenian dad find out the Jewish business secrets?
Yeah, Papa Kasparian, not Jewish, not a hateful, terrible person toward Jewish individuals, but yeah, devout Christian who did not have these insane conspiracy theories in his mind when he was involved in commercial real estate. It's just absolute lunacy.
Yeah, and my dad was Muslim, of course. And do you know where you go to find out these business secrets on how to run a business? It's called business school. That's where you go to business school. They teach you accounting, etc. Right? So, but these guys live in an alternate reality, and it's a dangerous one, where only the Jews run everything, and they run the media, the banks, etc. And all the nonsense story about, oh, they first got it for their wealth from being divorce lawyers. What are you talking about? Okay, so
which, by the way, that's not true. But if it were true, pretty lit.
I mean, the number one problem in all this anti-Semitism and all this bigotry and all this insanity is they, right? So, for example, one of my friends, one of the founders here, if you will, Dave Kohler, right? His parents are both physics professors. They didn't get their money from special business secrets or being divorce attorneys or any of that. They got it from physics, such as it is, right? So if you can't see that calling everyone in a certain religion or race or ethnicity the same thing is dumb, that's because you're dumb. So bigotry isn't just hateful, it's also incredibly stupid. So none of that, what Kanye said, is true. And what I'm afraid of is, of course, putting the kidding aside now, he's opening the anti-Semitic closet. It was the last one left of all the different hateful closets. He's opening it, and then Jason Whitlock, another right-wing idiot, jumped right in, and then said even about Rashad Ritchie, one of our hosts, the host of Indisputable, great host, how much silver are they paying you about us? Now, never mind that I'm not Jewish, I'm Muslim, and then people say, oh, but Cenk, you're atheist. Correct, but for right-wingers, they don't care about that. They're like, oh, what was he born? Muslim, hate him, right? So, but how much silver are they paying you is a direct, over-the-top anti-Semitic reference. Right, so now he's walking through that closet, and then Trump today, which is a story we'll get to later. And now he's back to openly making anti-Semitic comments. So, oh boy, here we go. So that closet of hate is now open, and they're proudly walking out of that closet. And that is a disastrous trend. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.